Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or morning, depending when you're watching this and where you're watching this. Welcome to Tata Steel Round 12, 2026, the Masters section. Challenges will be out a few hours after this one. I've had a long day, so I'm sitting down, comfortable, and we're going to review two games that are relevant to the standings. The first one has to do with Nodirbek Abdusattorov. He was almost a runaway leader, but has been reined in the last couple of rounds. But he found some form in round 12. He has the white pieces against Matthias Bluebaum, one of the candidates. So we've got c4, e6, and now knight to c3, d5, and d4. We get a transition into a Queen's Gambit declined, and we get knight to f6. Now there is a line here, I think, to play the immediate bishop to g5, but you play knight e6, we get this trade, and now bishop to g5, bishop to e7, and now e3. Did I call this g5? Sorry, b4. Anyway, h6, bishop to h4, short castles, and now bishop to d3. You can see the players have hardly spent any time. We've got rook to e1, knight g to e2, and now c6, queen c2, knight bd7, h3. You can see Nodirbek taking a couple of minutes here and there. We get knight to f8, bishop to g3, and now knight to e6. This is the move that Matthias Bluebaum spend some time on, because quite frankly he's got a couple of options. He can play bishop d6, to offer the trade. Sorry, that's e6, which is something he can do. Knight e6 is a choice. He can also begin playing b5 and begin to try and play here on the queen side. He can play a5, he can play b5, he can play bishop d6. So he's got a couple of choices, so he's got to calculate correctly. So plays knight e6. We get short castles, and now bishop d6. So the move order not mattering too much. We get bishop e5, which is a lovely move. Because I would like you to take me, and I will take back and remove this knight from f6. And then I will have long-term pressure on f7. h7. Bishop takes e5 is then an inaccuracy, because takes, knight gets removed, and I just defended with f4. And white's just better. Nodirbek is just better. Knight c to e5, I give you check. And now I play b4. And the thing is, right, you might say, but I trap your bishop. But you don't, because I'm going to just shred this all open. First with queen takes g6, so your knight is hanging. And now if you play, for example, rook e6, I've got queen g4 attacking the rook. And if you play, for example, knight to f8, well, this knight's still hanging. And if you, for example, now move the knight out the way, so instead of playing g6, if you try and go, so we get knight f8. If, for example, oh gosh, it went right to the end. Well, now you know Nodirbek Abdusattorov wins this game, but we want to show you how. So bishop here. So we had this, right? Defending this, and now this check. What the move played in the game is knight to f8. But you could try here to play something like knight back to e6. And then you're like, well, I'm going to trap the bishop. But now I play actually king h2. And you don't really get to trap the bishop, because bishop takes, pawn takes, and queen takes is devastating. You can play, for example, queen e7. I can play b5. I can play knight to g3. I could take here, but that's maybe a bit too much. You know, taking, you get like queen h7. Interesting position. Anyway, knight to f8. So the bishop is there. Now the knight goes to f8. We take this knight, they take my bishop, and we play e4, get this pawn break. Queen out to a5, I simply take back. Takes, queen takes is check, and now they can take here. But now queen d2, how do you defend the pawn? You don't. Bishop d7, rook to ac1. You might say, wait, hang on, why aren't you taking this? Well, you're not taking it because bishop c6 is actually kind of a problem. And for example, if you play knight b4, I can just play like bishop b5, and I begin kind of attacking your pieces that aren't coordinated. So rook ac1 played instead, queen a5, now queen b2, queen b6, queen d2, and we have a threat of repetition. Nodirbek plays knight d4, we get f6, queen b2 takes, pawn takes, rook takes, and now rook f7. He has lost some of his advantage, but he's kept the initiative, and queen c7 is the fatal blunder. There are a couple of drawing moves here. So you can play rook c8. you can play queen c5. You can play rook e3 to defend the knight, and to just get like this kind of 6 rank defense. Yeah, rook e6 takes, bishop takes, whatever. Yeah, queen c7 is not it. It loses to one move only, and that is move cb5, which hits the queen, and now you've got problems, because that bishop is hard to defend, that rook is hard to defend, and I'm going to remove the knight from the board. So you play, for example, queen c4. I just have rook takes knight. You take back, and then I play queen f2. Now you might say, wait, hang on, but you can't take this bishop, right? And you can't. Queen f1 check is a draw. So you've got to be careful at how you do this. So we get queen f2, now check here, and there's no perpetual. Now I take the bishop, rook attacks the knight. I give up this knight, simply because this is a fork of the king and the queen. So you can give me check, but I block. You can take here, but I take the rook, take the queen, and now I'm just up a knight. And Nodirbek Abdusattorov will convert this with ease. He plays knight to g4. The only other game I want to show you is this game. Javokhir Sindarov, who is chasing Nodirbek. They were level on points at the start of the round, but we just saw that Nodirbek won. So Sindarov, with the white pieces, has to try and press Praggnanandhaa. Has to try and press him. d4, d5, c4. And what we get is very similar. We get an a6 Queen's Gambit declined with a very similar structure. So Sindarov, you could imagine, plays this in a similar way. It gets the bishop out to g5. Although now we get an early bishop e6. And now knight bd7, bishop to d3, h6, the bishop comes back, all the same. But look at Prague. He plays this much more aggressively. This is the way Prague kind of plays, and he's going for that bishop. So we put... Or are we going to repeat moves? Are we going to repeat moves? We do. 14 moves. Praggnanandhaa spent 4 minutes. Like Sindarov spent time here considering going for this line, right? The moment the knight comes out here, he spends 1 minute here. And then here he spends his time. Because quite frankly, he could take this knight. He could play queen b3. But he's probably thought to himself, I can get the half point and not risk anything. And Nodirbek might press, he might make a draw. It's so difficult, right? Like, this is a forced draw, because you go back, I chase the bishop. I go there, and then I come back and block. For example, when the bishop goes here, you don't have to bring this knight back, but you've got nothing else. Everything is worse for black. So you have to go here. White in this position is the one that has to play on. Black is happy to repeat moves. The only other thing you can consider queen a4. You can consider queen b3. You can consider h3, h4, or something like that. Okay, maybe not h4, but h3. Queen b3 we've mentioned. Rook c1. Rook c1, just putting the rook on the c file. It's not easy, but this is a little bit sad. So they make a draw by repetition in 14 moves. And half an hour of play. And so, when we change tabs now, and we look at the final standing after the 12 rounds, it looks as follows. Nodirbek Abdusattorov has regained his lead over Javokhir Sindarov, his countryman. 7.5 points, 8 points for Nodirbek. Jorden van Foreest, Hans Niemann, and Vincent Keymer, all on 7. Now, we can talk about the permutations going into the final round tomorrow, but basically, Nodirbek Abdusattorov, if he wins it all. If he wins tomorrow, he wins it all. His fate is in his own hands. If he loses, he opens the door for Jorden van Foreest, Hans Niemann, and Vincent Keymer. If he draws, Javokhir Sindarov must win to force tiebreaks. That is the situation that it currently stands at. If we look at the round 13 pairings, Nodirbek Abdusattorov is playing. Here are the round 13 pairings. Nodirbek Abdusattorov has got the black pieces against Arjun Erigaisi. Sindarov has got the black pieces against Tata van Nguyen. He could, in theory, press for a win. He could. Nodirbek, Arjun is no pushover. He's not had a great tournament, but he's no pushover. If you come out too aggressive, he'll punish you. We'll look at the results now from round 12. You can see Nodirbek drawing, getting the win against Bluebaum. Arvind and Anish making a draw. Vincent Keymer scoring a win, but with the white pieces against tie-dye. Arjun and Van Foreest making a draw. Yagiz Kaan Erdogmus scored a very nice victory over Vladimir Fedoseev. And then Hans and Gukesh make a draw, and then Sindarov and Prague make a draw, as we saw. So, Anish versus Hans tomorrow. Bluebaum versus Yagiz. Prague versus Van Foreest. Now remember, Van Foreest, Hans, and is it Bluebaum? Or was it Keymer? I think it's Keymer. Are hoping for a miracle. Arjun Erigaisi could defeat Nodirbek Abdusattorov. That brings everybody else into the game. But it would mean a lot of decisive results. I don't see that happening. I could see Sindarov winning his game, Nodirbek making a draw, and we go to tie breaks between the two Uzbek stars. But I do not see any of the other players that we mentioned in the standings. You can see it has been a long tournament. These players have gone through grueling days. But I do not see Van Foreest, Niemann, and Keymer entering the title picture. It is between the two Uzbek players fighting it out for number 1 status, the World Cup winner, and the man yet to realize his potential. That is how everything stands after 12 rounds at Tata Steel.